The transport ship Mercy's Edge drifted through the asteroid belt like a wounded animal seeking shelter. Its hull bore scorch marks from plasma fire, and several sections had been sealed off after taking direct hits. Inside the medical bay, Dr. Sarah Chun worked frantically over her patients, her hands steady despite the chaos around her. "Another wave incoming!" shouted Lieutenant Rodriguez from the bridge. The ship shuddered as defensive systems engaged, trying to ward off the Zephyrian attack cruisers that had been hunting them for 3 days. Sarah didn't look up from the soldier on her table. Private Marcus Webb had taken shrapnel to his spine during the evacuation of Colony 7. The young man's legs were paralyzed, and according to every medical scan he would never walk again. But Sarah had seen too much death in this war to give up on anyone. The Zephyrian Empire had swept through human space like a plague, their advanced technology making short work of Earth's colonial defenses. They were tall, graceful beings with silver skin and multiple arms, each limb capable of independent thought and action. Their ships moved like living things, and their weapons could tear through human armor like paper. What made them truly terrifying was their philosophy. The Zephyrians believed that weakness was a disease that needed to be cut out before it could spread. They had come to human space not just to conquer, but to cleanse what they saw as genetic imperfection. Anyone who was injured, disabled, or deemed unfit was marked for immediate termination. "Doc, we've got maybe 10 minutes before they break through our shields," Rodriguez called out. "The escape pods are ready." Sarah looked at the 23 wounded soldiers in her care. Some were missing limbs. Others had brain injuries or spinal damage. According to Zephyrian standards, every person in this room was defective and deserved death. The thought made her blood boil. "I'm not leaving them," she said firmly. Marcus Webb's eyes fluttered open. Despite the pain medication, he was conscious enough to understand their situation. "Doc, you need to go. Don't let them kill you because of us." "Nobody's dying on my watch," Sarah replied, her voice carrying the authority that had made her the best. Field surgeon in the Terran Medical Corps, the ship's AI spoke in its calm, synthetic voice. Hull breach detected in sections 4 through 7. Emergency protocols activated. Through the medical bay's viewport, Sarah could see the sleek Zephyrian vessels closing in. They moved with predatory grace, their biomechanical hulls pulsing with an inner light. She had studied their technology extensively, fascinated and horrified by how they had merged organic and artificial systems. The Zephyrians were perfect beings by their own standards. They had eliminated disease, disability, and genetic variation from their species through centuries of careful breeding and technological enhancement. Every Zephyrian was tall, beautiful, and physically flawless. They genuinely could not understand why humans would waste resources caring for the weak. "Doctor," came a new voice. Commander Elena Vasquez, the ship's captain, entered the medical bay. Her uniform was torn and she had a cut across her forehead, but her eyes were determined. "I've been in contact with Earth Command. They're sending a message that might interest you." Sarah continued working on Marcus's spinal column, using microsurgical tools to realign damaged nerves. "I'm listening. Project Prometheus has been approved. They're offering to take our wounded and try something experimental." The name made Sarah pause. Project Prometheus was a whispered rumor in medical circles, something about advanced cybernetic integration that went far beyond anything previously attempted. Most doctors dismissed it as science fiction. "The catch?" Sarah asked. "The procedure has never been tested on humans. The subjects would essentially become test cases for technology we barely understand." Marcus Webb spoke up weakly. "What kind of technology?" Commander Vasquez hesitated. "Captured Zephyrian biotech, reverse-engineered and adapted for human physiology. The scientists think they can create enhanced soldiers, but the process would fundamentally change whoever undergoes it." The ship shook again, more violently this time. Warning lights flashed red as the Zephyrian vessels moved into attack formation. "How long do we have?" Sarah asked. "Maybe 5 minutes before they board us. After that?" Vasquez didn't need to finish. Everyone knew what happened to wounded humans who fell into Zephyrian hands. Sarah looked around the medical bay at her patients. These were good people, soldiers who had fought bravely against an enemy that outmatched them in every way. They deserved better than execution for the crime of being injured. What would this procedure involve? She asked. Complete neural integration with biomechanical systems. Enhanced strength, speed, and reflexes. Advanced healing capabilities. Essentially turning human soldiers into something that could match Zephyrian abilities. And the risks? Unknown. The volunteers might not survive the process. If they do, they might not be entirely human anymore. Marcus Webb tried to sit up, wincing with pain. Doc, if there's a chance to fight back instead of just lying here waiting to die, I want to take it. Around the medical bay, other wounded soldiers were listening. Sergeant Kim, who had lost both arms in a plasma explosion. Corporal Jackson, whose eyes had been damaged by Zephyrian nerve gas. Private Torres, whose legs had been crushed when her walker was destroyed. We all volunteer, Kim said quietly. Whatever this procedure is, it has to be better than letting these aliens murder us for being wounded. Sarah felt a chill run down her spine. She was being asked to experiment on her own patients, to transform them into something unknown. As a doctor, every instinct told her to refuse. But as someone who had watched the Zephyrians systematically exterminate injured humans across a dozen worlds, she knew they were out of options. The transport will arrive in 3 minutes, Vasquez said. The volunteers will be taken to a secure facility on Europa Station. The research team there thinks they can have the first test subjects ready within weeks. Assuming we survive that long, Rodriguez's voice came over the intercom. They're launching boarding pods. Sarah made her decision. She looked at Marcus Webb, at the determination in his young face despite his broken body. She thought about all the patients she had lost to Zephyrian execution squads, all the good people who had died simply because they were wounded. Prep them for transport, she told the medical team. And include me in the volunteer list. Doctor? You're not injured, Vasquez protested. No. But I'm the only one here who understands their physiology well enough to assist with the integration process. If we're going to turn our wounded into weapons, I want to make sure we do it right. The ship's hull rang with the sound of boarding clamps attaching. In the distance, they could hear the distinctive hum of Zephyrian plasma cutters beginning to breach the outer doors. Transport's here, Rodriguez announced. All hands to evacuation stations. As Sarah helped transfer her patients to the rescue ship, she couldn't shake the feeling that they were crossing a line they could never uncross. The Zephyrians had forced this choice on them, but the consequences would be theirs to live with. The last thing she saw before the transport jumped to hyperspace was the Mercy's edge exploding in a ball of superheated plasma. The Zephyrians had found nothing but empty corridors and medical equipment. Their prey had escaped, carrying with them the seeds of something the aliens had never encountered before. In the sterile transport bay, Marcus Webb stared at his useless legs and imagined what it would feel like to walk again. To run. To fight back against the creatures who had declared him unfit to live. The Zephyrians believed that weakness should be eliminated. They were about to learn that humans had a very different definition of what weakness meant. Europa Station hung in the shadow of Jupiter like a metal flower, its research modules spreading outward from a central hub. Deep within its most secure laboratory, Dr. Sarah Chun stood before a sight that would have been impossible just months earlier. Marcus Webb floated in a biointegration chamber, his body connected to dozens of fiber-optic cables that pulsed with blue light. The Zephyrian technology hummed around him, organic components growing and merging with artificial systems in ways that human science was only beginning to understand. Neural integration at 67%, announced Dr. James Harrison, the lead researcher on Project Prometheus. His hands moved across holographic controls, monitoring the transformation taking place before them. Sarah watched the readouts with fascination and horror. Marcus's damaged spinal cord was being replaced by a biomechanical, neural network that would not only restore his mobility, but enhance it far beyond human norms. His bones were being reinforced with metallic compounds extracted from Zephyrian armor. His muscle tissue was being supplemented with synthetic fibers that could contract with superhuman force. "How is he handling the mental integration?" Sarah asked. "Better than we expected. His brain is adapting to the new neural pathways faster than any of our models predicted. It's almost like human consciousness is more flexible than Zephyrian minds." Around the laboratory, 15 other wounded soldiers were undergoing similar transformations. Each procedure had been customized based on their specific injuries and aptitudes. Sergeant Kim, who had lost both arms, was receiving advanced prosthetics that responded directly to neural commands. Corporal Jackson's damaged eyes were being replaced with optical systems that could see across multiple spectrums. "Dr. Chun," came a voice from across the lab. Private Torres, who had been one of the first to complete the process, approached them with movements that seemed almost too smooth. Her crushed legs had been replaced with biomechanical limbs that were stronger and faster than anything nature had designed. "How do you feel, Maria?" Sarah asked. Torres paused, as if considering how to explain her experience. "Different. I can feel the metal and the organic components, but they don't feel foreign anymore. They feel like they were always part of me. And the strength she demonstrated by effortlessly lifting a steel beam that would have required 3 normal humans to move. Any psychological effects? My thinking is clearer faster. I can process information at speeds that would have given me a headache before. But I'm still me, Doctor. I'm still Maria Torres from Phoenix, Arizona, who joined the Corps to see the galaxy." Dr. Harrison pulled up a holographic display showing brain scans. "The Zephyrian neural enhancement technology doesn't override human consciousness the way it does their own. Instead, it seems to amplify our natural cognitive abilities while maintaining individual personality and free will." Sarah studied the scans with growing excitement. "That could be our advantage. The Zephyrians achieve perfection through uniformity. Every member of their species thinks and acts in predictable patterns. But if we can combine their technology with human creativity and independence, we create something they've never encountered before." Harrison finished. An alarm sounded throughout the station. Admiral Morrison's voice came over the intercom. "All personnel to battle stations. We have multiple Zephyrian ships approaching." "This is not a drill." Through the laboratory's viewport, they could see the sleek alien vessels emerging from hyperspace. There were 6 of them, more than enough to reduce Europa Station to scrap metal. "How many of our enhanced soldiers are combat ready?" Sarah asked. 8 have completed the full integration process, Harrison replied. "But they haven't had time for proper training or testing." Private Torres stepped forward. "With respect, Doctor, we don't need training to fight the aliens who tried to execute us for being wounded. We need the chance." Marcus Webb's eyes opened in the bio-integration chamber. The transformation was only 70% complete, but his new neural systems were already online. "Get me out of here," he said, his voice carrying new harmonics from the vocal enhancements. "Marcus, you're not ready. The process isn't finished." "The process finishes when I say it finishes." Webb's body began disconnecting itself from the chamber's systems. Biomechanical interfaces retracting as his enhanced immune system took over the integration work. "I can feel everything they did to me during the evacuation. Every cut, every burn, every moment they made me helpless. I'm not helpless anymore." Sarah watched in amazement as Webb stood for the first time since his injury. His movements were precise and controlled, enhanced muscles responding to neural commands with perfect coordination. Where his legs had been paralyzed, now biomechanical systems provided strength that exceeded normal human limits. "How do you feel?" she asked. "Like I can finally fight back." The station shook as Zephyrian weapons began testing its defenses. Admiral Morrison's voice returned. "All defensive systems are online, but we're outgunned 6-1. Estimated time before shield failure, 18 minutes. Dr. Harrison was frantically checking readouts. "The other enhanced soldiers are still in various stages of completion. We can't risk pulling them out early." "Then we go with what we have," Torres said. She was already moving toward the equipment lockers, selecting weapons with movements that seemed choreographed. 8 enhanced soldiers might not sound like much, but we're not the same people who got hurt fighting these things. Webb joined her, testing his new reflexes by catching a plasma rifle Torres tossed to him. His enhanced nervous system processed the weapon's weight, balance, and capabilities in milliseconds. "What's the plan?" "The Zephyrians will try to board us," Sarah said, calling up the station's defensive protocols. "Their strategy is always the same. Overwhelm the defenses, then send in troops to eliminate any wounded or defective humans they find." "Let them come," said Sergeant Kim, flexing prosthetic arms that could crush steel. "I want to show them what defective humans can do." The enhanced soldiers moved through the station with purpose that seemed almost supernatural. Their biomechanical augmentations allowed them to communicate through encrypted neural links, coordinating their movements without speaking. Sarah followed them toward the docking bays, carrying medical supplies in case any of them were injured. "Doctor," Webb said as they reached the primary airlock, "you should know something. The integration process isn't just about physical enhancement. The Zephyrian technology has shown us things about their psychology, their weaknesses. They've never fought an enemy that could match their physical capabilities while maintaining human unpredictability." "What kind of weaknesses?" "They think in patterns. Every Zephyrian soldier has the same training, the same responses, the same tactical algorithms. They're perfect, but they're also identical. We're still individuals with different strengths, different ways of thinking. That's going to confuse them." The station's hull rang with the sound of boarding tubes attaching. Through the airlock's window, they could see Zephyrian assault troops. Preparing to breach the station's defenses, Torres checked her weapon one final time. "Funny thing about being marked for execution because you're damaged goods. It really motivates you to prove them wrong." The airlock exploded inward in a shower of sparks and metal. Zephyrian soldiers poured through the breach, their multiple arms wielding plasma weapons with mechanical precision. They were tall, graceful beings who moved like dancers, their silver skin gleaming under the station's lights. The first alien through the airlock stopped in surprise when it saw the enhanced humans waiting for them. In that moment of confusion, Torres moved with speed that blurred her form, crossing 10 meters in less than a second and driving her fist through the creature's torso. "Armor, impossible," the Zephyrian managed to say before its biomechanical systems shut down. The other enhanced soldiers attacked with coordinated fury that caught the aliens completely off guard. Webb's enhanced reflexes allowed him to dodge plasma bolts that should have been impossible to avoid. Kim's prosthetic arms crushed Zephyrian weapons like they were made of cardboard. Corporal Jackson's new optical systems tracked multiple targets simultaneously, providing targeting data to his squad mates through their neural link. The Zephyrians tried to adapt, but their tactical algorithms had no response for humans, who moved with alien-level enhancement while retaining human creativity and aggression. They were used to fighting wounded, desperate humans who could be overwhelmed through superior technology. They had never faced humans who had incorporated that same technology into their own bodies. "This is impossible," one of the alien commanders broadcast on all frequencies. "Humans cannot achieve biomechanical integration. Your species lacks the neural complexity required for our technology." Webb paused in his systematic destruction of Zephyrian assault troops to respond. "You tried to kill us for being broken. Turns out, being broken just meant we had room for improvement." The battle for Europa Station lasted 17 minutes. When it was over, 6 Zephyrian ships drifted powerless in Jupiter's gravity well, their crews dead or captured. The enhanced human soldiers stood victorious in the station's corridors, their biomechanical systems already beginning to repair the minor damage they had sustained. Admiral Morrison arrived at the docking. The Zephyrian High Command had never experienced failure on such a scale. In their crystalline war room aboard the flagship Perfect Symmetry, 6 of the Empire's greatest military minds stood in stunned silence as they reviewed the battle data from Europa Station. "Impossible," said Commander Veltar. her forearms gesturing at the holographic displays with mechanical precision. Humans cannot achieve biomechanical integration. Their neural pathways are too chaotic, their genetic structure too unstable. Fleet Admiral Zekthane studied the recordings with growing unease. The footage showed human soldiers moving with Zephyrian-level enhancement, but fighting with an unpredictability that their tactical algorithms couldn't process. These specimens appear to have successfully merged our biotechnology with their primitive physiology. More than that, added Science Director Mulvane, highlighting specific data points, they have improved upon our designs. Look at these neural integration patterns. Their consciousness remains individual and creative while accessing enhanced capabilities. Our own soldiers achieve perfection through uniformity. These humans have maintained their chaotic thinking patterns while gaining our physical advantages. The implications sent a chill through the assembled Zephyrians. Their entire military doctrine was based on the superiority of their perfectly integrated biomechanical technology. If humans could not only use that technology but improve upon it, everything they believed about genetic superiority would be proven wrong. How many of these enhanced humans exist? Zekthane asked. Intelligence suggests approximately 50 completed integrations, with more undergoing the process daily. The humans are calling them Prometheus soldiers after some primitive mythological reference. 3 months later, the war had changed completely. What had been a systematic Zephyrian conquest of human space had become a desperate struggle for survival. The Prometheus soldiers struck at Zephyrian forces with tactics that defied all logical prediction, using enhanced abilities in ways no Zephyrian would ever consider. Marcus? Webb crouched on the hull of the Zephyrian battleship Genetic Perfection, his biomechanical systems allowing him to survive in hard vacuum without a suit. His enhanced muscles anchored him to the alien metal while his upgraded nervous system processed tactical data at superhuman speeds. Neural link established. Torres's voice spoke directly into his consciousness through their shared communication system. I count 47 enemy soldiers in the primary corridor. Jackson has visual on their command center. Kim, are you in position at their reactor core? Webb asked. Affirmative. These alien designs are actually pretty elegant once you understand how they think. Too bad they think so predictably. Webb allowed himself a grim smile. The Zephyrians had designed their ships around the assumption that only Zephyrian biomechanics could interface with the control systems. They had never imagined that human soldiers enhanced with their own technology could simply walk through their defenses. Beginning breach in 30 seconds, Webb announced. He placed his enhanced hand against the ship's hull and felt his biomechanical systems interfaced directly with the Zephyrian metal. The alien technology recognized him as compatible and opened access ports that would have taken normal human engineers days to locate inside the ship. Zephyrian soldiers moved in perfect formation through corridors, designed for their precise movements and predictable tactics. They had no experience fighting an enemy who could appear anywhere, think in ways that violated all logical patterns, and use their own technology against them. Webb dropped through the ceiling of the main corridor with speed that blurred his form. His enhanced reflexes allowed him to process the positions and movements of 47 enemies in the fraction of a second. Before he landed among them, the Zephyrians tried to respond with their programmed combat algorithms. But their perfect coordination became a weakness when facing an opponent who moved with human unpredictability. Webb flowed between their attacks like water, his biomechanical enhancements allowing him to contort his body in ways that would have been impossible for either pure human or pure Zephyrian physiology. Chaotic movement patterns detected, one of the aliens broadcast. Unable to predict trajectory algorithms. That's because you think like machines, Webb replied, his enhanced voice carrying harmonics that disrupted their communication systems. We think like humans who happen to have better hardware. Torres materialized from a ventilation shaft behind the Zephyrian formation, her biomechanical legs allowing her to move through spaces too small for the aliens' perfect but rigid bodies. Jackson emerged from a maintenance tube, his enhanced optical systems providing targeting data that let him disable Enemy weapons with surgical precision. The battle was over in minutes. The Zephyrian soldiers lay unconscious or dead, victims of their own technological perfection turned against them by minds that refused to think in predictable patterns. Command center secured, Kim reported from the ship's reactor core. I've interfaced with their computer systems. You're going to love this intelligence data. Webb made his way to the bridge, where captured Zephyrian officers stared at him with expressions that mixed fear and confusion. Their perfect features couldn't hide the fact that their entire worldview had been shattered. "You cannot exist," said the ship's captain, a tall female with silver skin and 4 gracefully articulated arms. "Our biomechanical technology requires genetic perfection to function properly. Your species is flawed, chaotic, genetically unstable." "Yeah, we get that a lot," Webb replied, settling into the captain's chair with casual ease. "The thing is, you guys have a really narrow definition of perfection. You think it means uniformity, predictability, everyone thinking and acting the same way. That is the definition of perfection. Variation leads to conflict, chaos, weakness." Torres joined them on the bridge, carrying data tablets filled with captured intelligence. "Captain, you need to see this. They've been systematically eliminating not just wounded humans, but anyone who shows genetic variation, creative thinking, or non-standard behavior patterns." Webb studied the data with growing understanding. "You haven't been conquering other species. You've been sterilizing them, removing anything that doesn't fit your template of perfection." The Zephyrian captain's expression didn't change, but Webb could see confusion in her eyes. "Of course. Genetic chaos must be eliminated before it can spread. Your species carries the mutation of independent thought. If allowed to persist, it would contaminate the ordered structure of galactic civilization. And that," Webb said quietly, "is why you're going to lose this war?" 6 months later, Dr. Sarah Chun stood in the medical bay of the human flagship Rising Phoenix, watching the latest group of Prometheus soldiers complete their integration process. The procedures had become routine now, refined through months of experience and enhanced by captured Zephyrian technology. "How many active enhanced soldiers do we have now?" asked Admiral Morrison, who had been promoted to overall command of human resistance forces. 237 completed integrations, with another 50 in process," Sarah replied. "But that's not the interesting part." She gestured to a holographic display showing galactic political data. "Word about the Prometheus program has spread to other species the Zephyrians have conquered. Turns out we're not the only ones who've had their defective populations marked for elimination." Morrison studied the data with growing excitement. "Are you saying what I think you're saying? The Kethver want to send their injured warriors for integration. The Mohani are offering their artists and free thinkers. The Pexturi want to enhance their engineers who've been marked as too creative by Zephyrian standards. My God, we're not just creating enhanced human soldiers. We're building an alliance of everyone the Zephyrians consider imperfect." Torres entered the medical bay, her biomechanical system seamlessly integrated with armor that bore the scars of dozens of battles. "Dr. Admiral, you need to hear this. We've just received a communication from the Zephyrian High Command." The main display activated, showing the crystalline interior of a Zephyrian command ship. Fleet Admiral Zek Thane appeared on screen, his perfect features rigid with what might have been desperation. "Human military commanders," he began. "We propose negotiations for a cessation of hostilities." Morrison and Sarah exchanged glances. In 18 months of war, the Zephyrians had never offered to negotiate with any species they considered inferior. "Continue," Morrison said. "Your enhancement program has created tactical scenarios for which we have no algorithmic responses. Your enhanced soldiers fight with capabilities matching our own. But think in patterns our strategic computers cannot predict or counter." Webb's voice came from off-screen. "What the Admiral is trying to say is that we're winning." Zekthane's expression remained controlled, but his next words carried undeniable strain. "You have corrupted our biomechanical technology with human genetic chaos. Your enhanced soldiers spread unpredictable thinking to any of our forces they encounter. Some of our own troops have begun questioning orders, acting independently, displaying signs of individual creativity. Sarah couldn't help but smile. In other words, they're becoming more human. This infection of independent thought threatens the ordered structure of our civilization. If it